Alright, hey, welcome back to my channel. My name's Richard, and the name of the channel is Why? Why does it do this or that? And the other question is, what for? And what does it do? And so, anyway, from a quest of knowledge on why something does what it does, took up the hobby, started in January at the first of the year. And I recorded a bunch of stuff, fixed to put it all together, went to put it on my computer, and my computer had an argument with my camera, and my video files lost the fight. So, here again, I have nothing to show for all my hard work, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't look like we're going to get a whole lot further until I can find parts for this thing. And finding parts such as this IF coil is going to be a chore, I'm pretty sure. I'm waiting to get in contact with the supplier for all my capacitors that are underneath here. I spent most of the time replacing the wires to this old Crosley. It had a bad case of cancer of wires from the power cord all the way through. These yellow ones connect up to this. They're part of the antenna system. They were just shot and corroded. In the process of removing these, I either broke little coil wires or they were already broken. They might have just rotted away. They're pretty small, about the size of a thicker than a cat's whisker. So yeah, so kind of put it at a standstill at the moment. I have learned a few things though. One is to back everything up. You don't lose a whole bunch of files. That really was a bummer. Two, I learned how to identify the parts on the schematic. The schematic has not laid out anything like the real thing, but I also have pictures of where everything goes, so it's not a mystery. It came apart very easily. The hardest bit was to chase down all the wires that are in here that were crusty. I mean, there was all the colored wires, the red and the yellow ones, were all eaten up. And there's still some wires left in here, still eat up pretty bad. I've still got that to go, but like I said, I'm trying to locate capacitors. I think I found a location for some. They're not too expensive. I don't know how long it'll take to get here. So yeah, I'm going to have to deal with that. I'm a little bit disappointed. I really tried hard to stack up some videos so I could put them all together, and my dumb old computer in there decided it wasn't going to cooperate, and in the process my files are gone, destroyed, just gone. It just, for some reason, it said it didn't like them and deleted them all. I don't know, probably, operator error, I'm sure, of some kind. But at any rate, yeah, so this is where I'm at. I'm going to try to make sure this video doesn't get lost, I hope, and it ends up on my channel. Yeah, so I'm retired, I live alone, trying to find a hobby. I started out with tropical fish, stuff I've done all my life, and for whatever reason that kind of went south pretty quick. I have a hard time focusing on certain tasks anymore. I suffered a bit of a stroke, so I'm still recovering from that. My attention span is very short. I think a toddler could beat me at this moment as far as keeping one's attention. And my eyesight is also not the best anymore, and so some of this stuff, it takes quite a bit of eye work. So, but the goal is to keep my brain repairing itself after having you have a brain injury like a stroke or something, or a hit on the head, coconut falls out of a tree on your noggin. And the best way the doctor says to do that is keep challenging your brain to doing stuff you've never done before. Well, I've never repaired radios or TVs. I've taken a whole lot of them apart. I've diddled around with them as a kid. I used to go hunt them down at the curbs. People tossing their old TV sets away, and I'd drag them home and just go through them. See, I had a fun time doing it as a kid, so I thought it'd be something I might come back to again as an adult. I have worked in electronic companies over the years. Worked for Lowndes, the people who make fish finders. I worked in their plug department, basically, where we made all the cable connectors and the looms and the wiring harnesses that go in production of connecting fish finders together and all that. So that was kind of cool. I learned a lot about everything there. I mean, they did everything in-house, from making the actual plugs from little tiny bits of plastic, the wires, everything's done in-house, soldering, everything. I went from making parts, wiring harnesses, to testing some of the ceramic resistors that they used in their system. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. I've rewired plenty of cars. Done that a few times. After I got a car from somebody who put a battery in backwards one time. I actually started the darn thing. It was a mid-60s car, but it didn't take long for it to fry everything. Burnt the wires. I was lucky it didn't catch fire, but yeah, that was a fun deal. And I've since then, done lots of things with electricity, so I know what to do, what not to do. And one of the things you do is you don't work on these things plugged in. Another thing you don't do is you just don't take one of these out of the box and plug it in, because, well, this one you couldn't. The power cord was shot. You couldn't. There wasn't any way that was ever going to work until you got nothing this way. That was the reason I bought this 1937 Crosley tube radio, 5-tube set. It's an AM and some other band. The other band's defunct, not used anymore. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. Anyway, I got it because it has a nice Bakelite shell on it, kind of standard, and it's look. So if I can get the parts, I will go through and reconnect, redo the bits that are in here now. What I did is I just took some common film capacitors in different values. It didn't really matter what the values were, because they weren't going to do anything. It was just for me to learn how to connect things. And learning how to solder. The thing is, the old solder is hard, very, very hard, and it's old. For whatever reason, it makes it even harder to get liquefied. So you have to have a raging hot iron to get those out of the way. So after, so I'll go, once I get the bits, the electrolytics and all the axial film capacitors replaced with the right ones, I'll have to go through to test all the resistors in it. That'll be fun. That'll be a whole other learning set of skills to do. All in all, once I learn how to get it, and if I can manage to, actually make it work, that'd be cool. But the goal is just to learn something. It's, if it's not repairable, it's not repairable. I will put it all back together like it was, and never put a power cord back on it, and I'll move on to something else. But that's what I'm doing. I'm sorry I lost all that other videos. It probably been boring anyway. It was just me fussing with all the wires in this thing. I've replaced them with high temp silicon coated wires, so these things will never rot, and they won't melt. High resistance to heat, I think 400 degrees or so. They're rated up to 600 or so volts. So yeah, it should be fine with all that in there. If it never gets to work again, it looks pretty on the inside. It'll look like, you'll notice new. The speaker was damaged. It was damaged long before I ever got a hold of it. So paper. I mean, this thing's over 80 years old, and all the bits in it's over 80 years old. This thing was built and put together before my mom was born. So it's the only thing that I know of that's older than she at the moment. So anyway. Yep, that's what we're doing. Hopefully I'll get this one uploaded, and we'll see you on the next one. So come back and see me sometime. We'll hang out, figure out why something does what it does. Alrighty, thanks for watching. Y'all have a good day.